How we doing, everybody? Malice here again with another video, and this time the start of a mini series taking a look at Codex Imperial Knights. Now, this is an army I've long had a liking for, excuse the my itchy eye, since they were introduced. So, new Codex comes out. Took me a while to get hold of it because monies, but we have it, so let's start having a look at it. And we're going to start off with the army rule. Now, normally when I do these things, I don't make a specific video about an army rule. But with the case of Imperial Knights, theirs is a bit more complicated than the average bear. So, as such, it warrants its own video. So, let's get into it. So, basically, the army is the code. Rule is the code chivalric. If your army faction is Imperial Knights, in the end of the raid mission objective step, you must determine your army's oath for the coming battle. An oath consists of two parts, one deed and one quality. And there's three options for each part listed below in the Codex. Now, to determine the deed and the quality, you can either pick which one you want, or if you're feeling daring and random, you can roll a d3. Now, for those who don't know what a d3 is, take a d6 and a roll of a 1 over 2 equals a 1, 3 over 4 equals a 2, 5 and a 6 equals a 3, and that is your d3. But in this case, it's actually d6, but never mind, I'm still in a good explanation of what a d3 is. So, let's get into it. So, we'll start with the deeds. We vow to lay low retirement. At the start of a battle, select one character model in your opponent's army. This deed is completed at the end of a turn in which if that character is destroyed. Simple one. It doesn't necessarily have to be the warlord, it can be any opposition character you like. Pick said character, kill said character in the game, the deed is done. Job's a good one. The second deed you can pick from is, we swear to reclaim the realm. This deed is completed at the end of your opponent's turn if you control more objective markers than your opponent does. This one's probably a bit trickier to do with the nature of the army composition for Imperial Knights. But it's still there if you want it. I mean, you can make it work, it's just maybe a bit trickier than the first one. And the final deed is, we pledge to reap a great tally. This deed is completed at the end of a turn if the number of destroyed enemy units is greater than the battle round number, even if those units are subsequently returned to the battlefield. For example, 2 destroyed enemy units in the first round. So, that's a good deed if you're feeling confident enough to be able to wipe units off the board. So if you're doing it on turn battle round 1, it's like, okay, complete this deed, I've got to kill 2 units, and so on. So it's sort of the one you want to get done nice and early because it's an easier number to attain, but it's still very doable. For me, out of the deeds, I would go either number 1 or number 3. Because they're basically the most utilitarian and arguably the easiest to pull off. However, it does mention there's 2 parts. Those are the deeds. Let's move on to the qualities. And the first quality is, with our martial valor risen overall. Each time this model is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll 1 hit roll and you can reroll 1 wound roll. Rerolls are always nice, we'll take those all day long. The second one, and we are eager for the challenge. Add 2 inches to this model's move characteristic and add 1 to advance or charge rolls made for this model. Now, if you're planning to do a more up close and personal Smash Mouth Knights army, this could be a very good quality to have. You get your stuff into combat faster, which is always a good thing, especially with how hard some knights can hit. And the final quality is, yet shall our legacy be unsullied. Improve this model's objective control characteristic by 2 and its leadership characteristic by 1. Very solid, because in an objective game playing Imperial Knights, you're always going to be on the back foot, because pretty much everything that isn't Chaos Knights or another Imperial Knight army will outnumber you. Yes, these guys make it even Custos look like a Horde army. That is how. This is the level of elite you're talking with Imperial Knights. Now, to expand on these, because the riddle goes on. The first time your selected deed is completed, your oath is fulfilled, and until the end of a battle, your army becomes honoured, and you gain 2 command points, or 3 command points if you're in the random route. So, the random is, by its nature, random, but there's a bigger payoff at the end with the command point payout. And command points again this way get around the usual thing that you can only ever get once command point per battle round. And that is in essence the army rule. However, there's other parts of the army rule for Imperial Knights. And we'll start with the Bondsman. Now, some Imperial Knight keywords have a Bondsman ability, tagged with the keyword Bondsman. In the command phase, 1 or more units from your army with the Bondsman ability can use that ability. For each one that does, select one friendly armor model within 12 of that model. And you can't stack bonds on the same armor. It has to be a different armor getting affected by a different bond. But until the start of your next command phase, the armor model is affected by that bondsman ability. Now, these vary from knight to knight, because the majority of the Crestoris chassis Imperial Knights have the bondsman rule, and each one offers a different effect. Another thing to note with Knights is it mentions here the 3 blades thing. The 3 blades. If every model in your army has the Imperium keyword, you can include 1 Titanic Imperial Knight or up to 3 armigers in your army, even if they do not have the faction keyword you selected in the select faction army step. They can't be your warlord, and they can't be your given enhancements. But basically, it's just saying if you want to bring a big stompy warbot or a few slightly smaller stompy boys, you're free to do so. Another thing it mentions here is super heavy walkers, because this is the category knights fall into. Each time a model with this ability makes a normal advance or fall back move, it can move through models excluding Titanic models and sections of terrain that are 4 inches or less in height. When doing so, it can move within engagement range of enemy models, but cannot end that move within engagement range of them. And it can also move through sections of terrain that are more than 4 inches in height, but if it does, after it is moved, roll a d6. On a 1, that model is battle shocked. So, yeah, that covers it. Everything army rules wise for the Imperial Knights. So, like I said before, slightly more complicated than the average bear when it comes to the army rules, but here it is all laid out on the table. So, what do you guys think? As always, let me know in the comments, and I shall catch you in the next part of this mini-series. Sayonara.